I had to pack shipments, label shipments, do the hard work. And this was my start. So I never was considering myself working for a company. I work with a company.
The ethics, the values you carry, hard work you put in, and be people's person.
Exactly. My period of working with the UAE government proved to me that the public sector here is much faster, more agile, and more innovative than the private sector.
You became the voice of social media.
I'm the voice of the voiceless, I can say.
Yes.
When you don't fear people, everything will be easy for you.
Hiring leadership talent is a challenge for any founder.
Lack of talent is never there. The visibility of those talents is the problem.
Hello, my friends. Why this episode is extraordinary? Because today's guest has worked with people beyond the ordinary. He has been an advisor to the government and a supporter to many startups, mentor to many promising startups in this region, and now he's an entrepreneur himself. Thank you, Hussein, for being on the show. Thank you so much for making it.
Pleasure being with you, Ram.
Thank you. Let me start by asking, or I would say by narrating it, people like me, and I'll take this liberty on behalf of others also. But what inspires me is from where you started and where have you reached, right? And growing from a customer executive role to the regional CEO, it is quite a journey. And that's what inspires me, and I'm sure my audience too. I would like to understand more about it. And what do you feel about it? How does it feel when you look at back and see, oh, where was I and where I am today?
Well, in fact, you gave me some nostalgia here.
Yeah.
It's been a very exciting journey for me.
Okay.
As you said, I started from scratch. Third day or fourth day of my graduation, I was on the job. And I started from the ground, literally in the operations, even before going into a customer account executive. I learned about the operations. The real learning is on the ground. So I had to pack shipments, label shipments, do the hard work. And this was my start. Then I started to grow gradually. And there were a lot of reasons for my growth. I never grew in any company because of a wasta, as we say. I really grew because of my efforts, my dedication. And the reason of my growth has been always the people who worked with me. They used to lift me on their shoulders.
Okay.
So it took me a while to grow, of course. I wasn't in a hurry. I had a lot of ambition. And I always dreamt to be that manager, a GM. But how to do that, I had no idea. And that's why it came by itself after maybe 7-8 years of hard work, and even dedication with clients worked a lot, because the feedback of your clients to your management makes a big difference as well. So between my clients and the people who used to work with me, that was really the secret recipe of my growth. So I never was considering myself working for a company. I work with a company. And this is where your self-achievement, which I'm proud of today because you asked me about this, is what I'm happy about. And this is what I'm trying to pass to the next generations, be it my children, be it everybody whom I mentor, I coach, that this is the way to grow. Organic growth.
Organic growth. So if I summarize it, right? So it will be like the ethics, the values you carry, hard work you put in, and be people's person.
Exactly. You said it.
You stepped into the public sector as well. You worked very well and you've delivered some, commendable results for them. And that journey must have been the different from what you were doing in corporates. How that has been for you and how was that shift?
I consider myself today very lucky because I have a combination of private and public sector experience. Yes. I think they complement each other. Working for the private sector without having a taste of the public, it's not full. It's a not full experience, and vice versa as well. When I got the opportunity to join the government, and I'm very proud of joining the government at that time, and I will always be, I was a bit worried. I know nothing about working in the government. And I used to think that working in the government, you go into bureaucracies, and at all. Literally, my period of working with the UAE government proved to me, and I always said that publicly, that the public sector here is much faster, more agile, and more innovative than the private sector.
Oh,
Yeah, believe it or not. That was the thing that made me enjoy working every single day. And I always say again, I never worked for a single day in the government. It was never work. It was, I call it a paid contribution. I used to
Paid
contribute. I used to maybe contribute 0.001
True.
of what others are doing. But everybody who worked there, you felt that it's more of contributing to the country, contributing to the community, and you never feel you are in a job. That was my personal experience.
Did you feel that it was sort of a sense of giving back to the community?
100%.
It was like that experience.
When I accepted the
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
as an advisor,
Right.
I told
Yeah.
my leaders at that time, this is not a job for me because I just want to find a job. And by the way, this job, the public sector job, I got the offer in the same day I resigned from my private sector job.
Oh,
So imagine
combination of-
it came on a plate of gold.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Yes, I will take it
Yeah.
because I have to give this country a lot. This country gave me and gave everybody a lot of
Yes.
great things. It's time to pay back with our dedication, with our contribution. And it never ended, by the way, Ram, when I left the government.
yeah.
I consider myself still working by contributing in whatever I can do in the private sector or through my personal business.
Okay. So these days we see you a lot on social media.
Every day.
And you kind of inspired people, and you have kind of told everybody, whether they are into the senior positions or the junior positions, that if you're not out there on social media, and if you're not making your point, or if you're not creating content, you're not doing your job.
Let's be a bit fair. They are doing their job, but it's an incomplete job. Sometimes it can be a complete job.
Okay.
And they are satisfied by earning money, putting the money in the bank, being too much offline, which is okay. But the opportunity is by being online and being loud. This is where you increase your opportunities. The only excuse I will never accept, and I can prove it, is that I don't have time. Content creation or being visible online doesn't need time.
Okay.
You can always find time for it. The minimum time you need to create any content, or the maximum time, it can be maybe 1 hour a day, which you can find in the evening. I mean, you can read a book and you can create content at the same time. It's a matter of choice. Do you want to be visible? Are you afraid of being visible? What is worrying you of being visible?
So let me add something here, or let me ask you a related question on this. You being an introverted person, and you've said also this publicly, you've sort of shared your video also, that you were very shy talking to people, you were very shy in public, speaking at the event, etc. And then you became the voice of social media, or on social media, for different reasons.
I'm the voice of the voiceless, I can say.
Yes, you are. And you're talking about different topics, leadership style, leadership, the work environment. How do you succeed in your job role? What exactly management needs? And this journey of yours from being an introverted person to becoming an
Extrovert.
and how you achieved that. So the people who are watching this podcast would like to understand. And it will be great to hear some stories from you.
Yeah, of course, as you said, and there is a famous video, I have it on my social media. When I was very shy, literally, I used to freak out when I stand in front of people, be it for presentations at work,
Yeah.
be it for even sitting with 2 or 3 people explaining something,
Right.
or when it comes to a big audience. My turning point was when I had my public speaking training, my first public speaking training. Again, I'm going to mention him, Mike Attack. He maybe he retired today, but his legacy will always stay forever because he was the guy who put me under a 3-day public speaking training intensive,
Okay.
which literally cracked other CEOs. I mean, at that time, there were a lot of executives doing that training. Some of them will survive and some of them will crack. It was very good, very intensive. And after those 3 days, I became a totally new person. And then I started, it's not enough to take a public speaking training. You have to practice after that. So I started to throw myself into events. Wherever there is panels, yes, I will join. If, let's say, there's a team who's going to present, I raise my hand, I'll do that. And with time, I used to practice more. And then, you know what? I reached a situation. Why should we be afraid of public speaking? What can happen? The worst that can happen is what? Nothing. The maximum is somebody will laugh at you behind the scenes. You know, this guy or this lady don't know how to speak. That's it. It's okay.
Correct.
So when I found that there is no reason to be afraid of public speaking, there is no reason of being loud in a professional manner, with practice, with consistency, I reached a point where I don't even notice a camera if it's in front of me. And I never fear people. I always say it. When you don't fear people, everything will be easy for you.
As you rightly said, the government innovates more, has a less response time than the private sectors. And it will be great and it will be good to understand with a real life example, right? We see these days so many things happening. And during one of the podcasts when I was recording, I met an interesting guest. And we discussed the story of how Burj Al Arab came into picture. And, so his thought process was that when he was told by His Highness that something like this needs to be built, he said, this seems impossible. And then one fine day, it happened. And he also said that during that process, I figured out the difference between sight and vision. Because the government had that vision. So what kind of, or any one real life example would you like to quote here where you see the government has, done wonderful?
A super fresh example. It happened 3 days back.
Okay.
Government services.
Okay.
I had my driving license. It was expired.
Okay.
And I panicked because it expired and I crossed 2 days, and I had a formality to do. So immediately what came to my mind, it's going to be a lengthy process because we're used to this in other countries whereby you have to fill applications, apply, and it takes days. Literally, Ram. And I can prove it. And I took screenshots of this to prove to anybody who challenges me. It took me less than 10 minutes to renew my driving license. I went online, did the formality, did everything. Less than 10 minutes, I got a new driving license, which is valid maybe for 10 years.
Yeah, in your app.
Of course, I got it digital.
Yeah.
And I could have gone immediately to any of the RTA machines.
Printed it.
And printed.
Yes.
This is a small example.
Yeah.
So tell me any private sector formality like this, maybe a credit card or anything, or maybe a SIM card, you will never be able to do it with that speed and that smoothness. So this is one small example. I mean, almost every government formality today you see, and I've seen this by the way in the public sector when I was there, there is a vision, as you said. The leadership, they want to be the number one in everything.
Yeah, I saw that video of His Highness.
Yeah, and His Highness always says, we want to be the number one in everything.
Yes.
Today, I can see the UAE number one in many things.
Right.
And the sky is the limit. It's all because there's a proper vision, proper leadership, proper direction. And the beautiful thing is everybody below the leadership, they embrace those visions.
Yeah.
And they move forward with those directions.
So coming back to the social media and your extrovert part, you have been an advocate of leadership style, right? And now you're into PeopleMena, right? Which is helping budding startups, entrepreneurs, corporates.
PeopleMena is doing that.
Yeah.
PeopleMena is more of grabbing
talent, right? So
Yes.
that's what I'm coming to. So, and hiring leadership talent is a challenge for any founder. And you have been interacting with so many now, right? Because you do advise many of these startups. So, do you really relate or understand that founders do have challenges in getting the real talent? This is one. And do they really understand that what are the leadership styles are and how do they implement those in their journey?
Look, lack of talent is never there. The visibility of those talents is the problem.
Okay.
Because based on what I'm seeing every single day,
Yeah.
maybe half the talent, if not more, are around you, but you don't see them because they're silently struggling and not exposing themselves, for example, to be open for jobs. And this is what we do in PeopleMena. That's why in PeopleMena, now for the first year, we don't receive CVs.
Yeah.
We don't post vacancies. When we sign with companies, okay, and those companies will come and tell us, we want these 3 or 4 caliber of talents. We go and see those silent people whom we know are not happy through our network, be it we know them from the community, from the industry, we worked with them in the past, somebody recommended them highly and we trust that recommendation, and then we met them and wow, they proved to be super good. Then we take those to those companies who are saying we're not finding talent. And trust me, Ram, it's not a hit or miss.
But I'll stop you here.
Yeah.
So when you say, okay, when they're not happy, you pick them up and then you sort of try to marry them with the organization goals. Here, I would like to understand, and my viewers would also like to understand, what are those key traits you look into that person that, yes, this is going to make the miracle happen?
Great question. Soft skills.
Soft skills.
The first thing I look at, the attitude, soft skills, and everything else is an accessory, as I say. If you have the right attitude, you have the right passion, and you are a hard worker, and you respect others, and you're people-centric, and you're smart, I mean, anything else you can learn.
So I was talking about the leadership styles, right? Some people being authoritative, some being collaborative, right? The style of different working. So what do you prefer, and how do you ascertain that, okay, this kind of leadership style would help companies, organizations to grow?
It should be a balanced one. I mean, let's be realistic here.
Yeah.
We cannot say that you have to be a very super friendly leader without being a bit tough, because some people will abuse you. In general, you have to be a professional, results-oriented leader where you can be a bit tough when things are going wrong,
Yeah.
and people are abusing, but in principle, while being an empathetic leader who has that sense of humor, you're people-centric, you are a human being, and when things go wrong, you become a tough person to reshape things and put things in place. That's the best combination. But the cutthroat, it doesn't work. I see today, I have candidates who are coming to me, top salaries. They're ready to take 50% salary cut because they are working with leaders who are like dictators. You know, they think that they own them, and they shout at them, and they threaten them. If you don't get the numbers, I will fire you. That type doesn't work. It doesn't work. I never believe in that. I don't even give candidates to such leaders.
Yeah.
So, because in the end, it's your reputation. You place someone to make money and then that person will struggle. No. And believe me, we are a small community. We know those leaders by names. We know who goes on social media and says, we are people-centric, and sometimes they take, again, those awards of the best working places in the world. But what's happening inside is really scary. So they cannot hide.
Yeah.
And that's why such people will always lose their great talents who come to us, and we take them to somewhere better.
So we've been talking about hiring. Let's talk about firing.
Yeah.
Very important to understand. Across the globe, we hear these days, firing is at, at peak, I would say. How they can be a better employer even when they're firing somebody, So what is your take on that, and how do you see and how one should look at it?
The first thing I will do first is to go to whoever is responsible for dictionaries and eliminate the word firing.
Okay.
It's a very offensive word. no human being on earth would like to hear it. So
That's
changing that terminology is super important, and replacing it maybe by breaking up, farewell, anything.
Yeah.
Because when you come and tell a person you are fired,
Right.
it's a big
Right.
word. So going into this topic, you are totally right, Ram. Today the way companies are firing people is horrible. There's a lot of tactics, and you can see it. Many companies are waiting for the people to go on leave. They plan your destiny without you knowing.
Yeah.
So you have these closed meetings. Okay, let's fire those 7, 8, 10 people. But that person is going on leave now. Let them go on leave, and when they come back, this is a fact. I've seen it, and I have stories I'm going to speak about later.
Yeah.
And so that person goes and enjoys with his or her family, and then they come back. The moment they come back next day, they sit with them. You're fired. At least involve people. The best thing ever is to be transparent. You have 3 types of firing. You have either firing because of revenge-based, they don't want you anymore, your boss doesn't like you. You have companies who are closing down, which is normal. We cannot stop that. And it happens suddenly sometimes. And you have companies who are making less profits, but still making a lot of money. And they want to make more profits, so they lay off their people. Like the big names that you see today.
Sometimes it becomes it comes on the CEO's target also, where
course.
he has overpromised and he wants to deliver that. And he sees, okay, if I continue like this, I'm not able to grow the top line or the business. Let's cut down on the cost and deliver.
Which is wrong, Ram, which is wrong. I've seen CEOs in my career,
Yeah.
and I know them by name,
Yeah.
who used to bring a list to the CEO who's higher than them, or to boards or others, with happiness. I slaughtered 50 heads today. Imagine, these 50 people have families,
Yeah.
and then they clap for him or her, which is totally wrong. I mean, this is literally really scary. The big organizations, the billion-dollar organizations, are firing people as well. But the question is, when you fire, let's say, 20% of your workforce, will it really move the needle? Could you have saved cost by keeping those assets and trying to get rid of literally some materialistic assets? Yes. Always I advise companies, before cutting the human or chopping heads, as they say, which is a very bad word,
Yeah.
try to reduce the unnecessary expenses.
The other overhead.
If the CEO is traveling business class and he or she are firing people, this is wrong. One time I was asked to fire a person,
Okay.
in one of the jobs. And I was new to the job. I had no power in saying no. It was forced on me. You know what I did? I spoke to one of my friends who is a headhunter, because I had to travel and ask that person to leave.
Okay.
All right. And the decision was taken before I joined.
Yeah.
So I tried to challenge that decision, and I was told, it's not your decision. You go and execute. So I called one of my headhunting friends, and I told him, I have this candidate. I don't know him very well, but I'm going to, unfortunately, to ask him to leave on behalf of the company. So I'm only just the messenger. This is his CV. I heard good things about him. Maybe he's being fired. He was a victim of something.
Yeah.
Please help me in finding a job. So when I went and met that guy for the first time, imagine I was maybe his new boss.
Yeah.
And I was there to give him the news. Before giving him the news, I told him that I've given your CV to somebody so that he can absorb the shock. And then I told him the news.
Okay.
I mean, what will it hurt anyone to do the same thing? This is why I'm planning in PeopleMena.
Okay.
And this is official, it's okay. I'm planning on creating a program for companies who are planning to lay off people because that's their last resort, on how to really bridge them before even they fire them.
You being the CEO for your own business and the founder is, of course, and you advise many startups these days, and you interact with so many because you are there in the public. The founders or the entrepreneurs, they face different challenges at a startup journey or pivoting something at a growth scale, expansion scale. What advice is common for you when you consult them or you advise them which is across the board for the development of sustainable growth?
Sustainable growth today, I think, with the turbulent days that we're having, is becoming a bit of a challenge when it comes to execution. But if you have it as a goal and as a direction, definitely it's always there. To achieve a sustainable growth.
Goals, long term versus short term.
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, goals and strategies today, long term strategies do not work anymore. 4 and 5 years, forget it. It's all about having short-term strategies. You can have one master long-term strategy, but you have to have small short-term strategies that are very dynamic. You need to adjust your strategies maybe every month or 2 months.
Completely agree with you.
Depending on the words and the situation and what's happening. So
It's
this
very
is
dynamic.
100%.
Technology, this and that, everything is changing.
Yeah. Growth will never stop if you keep running after a new business.
Okay.
And the problem today with many startups I'm seeing, whom I'm advising, is the founders do not come from a commercial background. They're super good in tech and everything. How to promote it, how to market it, how to go and sell it maybe, how to open their network, how to utilize their network, how to utilize the network of the network. So I help them a lot in this because in the end, if I believe in a startup and I know that the service that they have or the product is sellable, there is no reason for anyone not to buy from them. But in principle, that's why they hire people. They call them growth hackers and and chief revenue officer, and all these things.
New fancy words.
Yeah, but my advice is you are the number one salesperson of your business. Don't try to convince me anything.
You are the
else.
best brand custodian of your own brand.
Yes.
This is what can.
Yes.
Yeah. You wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
CEO, founder, board member, advisor, consultant, and even professor, right? Sometimes. And even working with government, even corporates too, right? So one thing which is sort of raising a question in my head is how do you channelize yourself, right? Because the deliverables to do justice to each one of these different entities is completely different. It's a kind of mood swing which needs to happen. And it needs to be an immediate switch. So you might be advising a startup founder now, and then you might be jumping on a sales call, or you might be flying to some other countries to attend a board meeting, right? So how does that switch works?
It took me time to realize what am I doing, honestly. And people tell me a lot, do you focus? Of course I focus. Maybe it is sometimes you have the power of multitasking for what really matters.
Okay.
I mean, in the past, and people know me very well, I used to do a lot of free things, okay? People contact you and people want you to help them and support them. When I started to know what, this is business, okay? Free things are for free time. Sometimes you do it as a contribution to the community. But again, anything related to what I'm doing today, it's business. It's a win-win. So I narrowed a bit my day-to-day tasks. And the good thing, Ram, all my clients, I never work with my clients based on an hour rate. Never. And they don't even expect from me to show in their office for a certain number of hours. It's all about deliverables, and deliverables, not numbers. I always tell clients, I enable your teams to get numbers. I'm not your salesperson to get you numbers. My role is to make sure that your people perform and get numbers. And by doing this, it's the most difficult task ever.
I would say enablement.
Enablement. Because when you go into, oh yes, I promise you, I will get you $1 million, and the $1 million doesn't come for any reason, your reputation will be on the edge. So the value is by getting numbers through people. In the same way, when I used to lead 3,000, 4,000 people in big companies, the numbers that were coming were not from me as a CEO. It was from the people. So this is what companies need today.
You've been associated with public sector, private sector, and much more. And these days, the way Dubai is growing, UAE is growing, each and every country is looking at this part of the world. And when I say this part of the world, I'll say GCC,
Yes.
UAE, and followed by other countries. And many have aspirations to come and set up the businesses here. So, what do you suggest to these people when they come here, when they're doing the market scan, when they're understanding the market, understanding the people here, understanding the consumer behavior, right? What all they should look at and how good it is for them to set up something here and increase their footprints.
The first advice when you are doing market scan, be careful of market scam.
Okay.
Sometimes new companies who come to any country, not necessarily there will be people who will tell them, oh, you come, we'll help you to set up and everything. But in the end, those companies get scammed by individuals. I mean, it's happening everywhere in the world. So I tell them, when you want to come and have an entry to any market or any country, have the right partner to help you from day one. A trusted partner, somebody who will take you by hand from day one. From the moment you do company registration and license and everything, into maybe building a facility and then generating business and introducing you to the network. So this is what really adds a lot of value. You know, many companies sometimes get overpromised by that this or that or this market is super good for you. You'll be very profitable, and then when they come, the moment of truth happens. Do a lot of research. For one reason, you have all the government support. You have the infrastructure, you have the government support, you have the safety and security that will protect you and your business. So it all depends on you, how aggressive you are in running with this business. Again, anything which is, of course, I'm against coming up with a business which is already existing here by 20 or 30 players, especially delivery.
Okay.
I need to speak about it. I mean, today, a lot of delivery companies are still coming to the region. I always say it may be a crowded industry. So if you want to come into the delivery industry, don't come as a delivery player. Come as a delivery solutions provider when it comes to technology, when it comes to different solutions, rather than only just delivering a parcel.
Okay.
I just gave an example because
Yes.
this is what's happening. I saw a lot of companies coming to the region, delivery companies, and closing after maybe 6 months.
Do you consider yourself as an influencer?
Never. Look, I have allergy against this word, with all my respect to influencers.
Because that was my next question, your reaction to that.
Yeah, because maybe I call myself always as a contributor, not an influencer. Influencers for me personally, are people who get paid to convince you of something they are not convinced of. For example,
There's a deep thought.
you will see, for example, I will never buy, let's say, I don't know, a nice piece of cloth when I see, let's say, a football player wearing it who gets paid $1 million. I'm not influenced by that guy, so I'm not going to buy it. If that guy, I believe more in brand ambassadors who convince me because they like that product. So the word influencers today, unfortunately, it is a good word, and there are a lot of good influencers. I'm not generalizing, but many of them get paid, again, to convince you of buying something they don't even like. Simple.
Thank you so much for this lively conversation. We'll move to our rapid fire round. And we would request you to have one-liner or a fast-forward answer, I would say. So here you go. What is your leadership style?
People-centric.
You're an advisor, entrepreneur, mentor, accelerator, and a public speaker too. Your favorite role and why?
Entrepreneur.
What do you enjoy the most?
Entrepreneur, because you do all of the other things.
Oh, okay. Favorite book that has inspired you the most?
The Sheikh CEO.
The Sheikh CEO.
It is
Okay.
the Sheikh Muhammad's book.
Yes. One piece of advice you would give to your younger self. Your younger self.
Loyalty is only for you, and dedication is for the company that you work for.
Okay. A hobby outside of work. I know you're a workaholic.
I like two things. I like fast cars.
Okay.
And I like a lot the videography as well.
Okay.
Making videos.
One skill you wish you were a master at.
Coding.
Coding. One app you can't live without.
LinkedIn.
Okay. A country you always wanted to visit, but you haven't.
My second home country, Chile.
Chile.
I'm half
Okay.
Chilean.
One thing on your bucket list that you haven't accomplished yet.
Hiring my first employee.
Okay. That was good news for all of us.
Yes.
And you might receive a lot of CV after this episode. Thank you so much, Hussein, for making it. You have been candid in a conversation. I really appreciate it. And keep on supporting. Keep on doing what you're doing. And we wish you the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you very much, Ram.
Thank you very much for that.
I really enjoyed this.
A big thanks to our viewers for sharing your love with us. Do like, share, subscribe to our channel and give us your valuable feedback. Until next time, goodbye. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.